Hey guys, what's up? This weekend I traveled with my Exway Wave for the first time ever. I drove 4 hours north, which gets me into not hill country like what we have in Texas, like Austin. Doesn't get me into like San Francisco type hills, but it put me in a pretty hilly area, like definitely like average hills. Unfortunately, like I don't know how you just look at a hill and then you can tell like the degree of hill it is. That's way out of my skill level. I shot the video with the GoPro Hero 360, whatever it's called. I don't know that the 360 footage when I was editing it, I don't feel like it captured and showed the steepness of the hills I was riding. So this might not be the most informative video saying like, hey, you gotta take my word for it, but you kind of just have to take my word for it. Again, I tried to edit the video as best I could, and I'm still learning how to edit this 360 footage to show the steepness of the hills. And I tested the board a couple of different ways so that I could kind of get an idea of how I would do. Also, as far as this ride goes, I had just woken up. I only had maybe 15 minutes to ride before I had to actually start doing what I traveled to do. And I was a little bit hungover, so I wasn't feeling the most confident. That said, if you're looking to get the Wave and ride it in a pretty hilly area, I would say go for it. It handled the hills very well. I found a hill that was pretty steep and I just came to a complete stop on it. And it was able to do it. Now, obviously, I didn't pick up much speed going up the hill at this point. I mean, it was pretty taxing on the board to do it, but it handled it. I was only riding with just myself. Like, I didn't have a backpack with stuff, so I was riding at around 135 pounds on the board. I think with it being a heavier rider, I will say starting on a hill from a complete stop is gonna be a lot harder to do. And quite honestly, I don't know that it could handle it because it was a bit of a struggle for it to do it with me. Now, hitting the hills with just minimal speed, just kind of cruising speed, I had no problems just holding the same speed going up the hills. And so that was great. And these were some pretty long hills, some of them that I was riding. So from a practical purpose, I think, it does really well on hills. Again, if you ride somewhere maybe like San Francisco where you're gonna walk out of a restaurant naturally already on some steep hill and try and go and you're 200 pounds, you might have some issues with it. I think the Riot might do better with hills, just having a belt drive system possibly, but also I don't have that, so I can't comment on that. So aside from riding in parking garages, this is the first time I've been able to ride any of my skateboards that I have on like real hills. If I lived in an area like that, I would personally be very pleased with the performance of it. And I was riding in gear 3 to do that. Normally I like to ride the Wave in gear 4. It's not quite like my Flex as far as speed wise, and so if I'm gonna ride for a while, gear 4 for me is just more fun. Riding on 3 though, I felt like was kind of the most average way again to test hills. Not everyone's gonna wanna ride in 4. Although as I say that, I think once you get your Wave, most people are probably gonna wanna ride in gear 4. It's not a speed demon board by any means, but I feel like 4 is where the optimal performance of the board is. So if the test did well at 3, I can only imagine it's gonna do that much better in gear 4. One of the cool things about this ride was the streets were all paved pretty well. You'll kind of notice that, like you can see where they filled in some cracks and stuff like that, but it was a really comfortable ride for the hub. I get questioned all the time, should I get the hub or the Riot kit? Again, if I'm ever gonna choose, unless you need just to be riding a super discreet board, like maybe it's illegal in your country, I'm always gonna pretty much say get the Riot kit. But for these specific roads, and if these are the type of roads that you're primarily gonna be riding, the hubs did great on. It was very, very comfortable, even on a short, non-flexible board. That's one thing I wanna comment on to keep in mind. If you haven't ordered your board yet and you're a little bit unsure and you're looking at these streets thinking, hey, the board looks like it does fine on these, I don't wanna spend the extra money on the Riot. The board did do fine on those streets. Don't spend the extra money if you don't want to and get the Riot. I know this is short and sweet and not the most detailed video. Again, I did my best to show the hills as best as I could, and I wasn't in a situation where I could review the video while I was there. I kind of just had to go out, again, ride for like 15 minutes, get as much footage as I could, and then now I'm back home trying to figure out how to piece this together and show you guys how well the board did on the hills. And as I've seen it, I do feel like it didn't capture the hills like I wanted it to, and I apologize for that. But I figured this is better than nothing, just to let you guys know I've got to ride the board now on some real hills, and it does do well. If you guys have any other questions, post them below, let me know, and I will do my best to answer them. As always, there's a coupon code below. It does help my tiny little YouTube channel out a lot. And I'm in the market for an all-terrain board, so if you guys have any suggestions on that, post that comment below. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.